Hello, friends. Welcome back to the Consumed by Grace podcast, Summer Reading Club, Part 3. We're your hosts. I'm Henry.
And I am Brooke, and we are so glad to join you for our final part of this book series, reading series. And we are talking today about Daring Greatly by Brené Brown.
Excellent book. And I tell you, this is, I think, it's either my third or my fourth read through of this book. Technically listened through. I listened to it this time because she reads the book and she reads the updated edition of it. Man, I forgot, to use the... Forgive me for using words that are not my words. This book slaps.
I don't know how I feel about you saying this slaps.
It's so good.
It is so good. It is so good. It's the front of my book says more than 2 million copies sold and a number one New York Times bestseller, which I have to imagine it's got to be more than that.
Oh, easy saying. I know for myself personally, I've got the regular book, I've got the audio book, and I even bought, I'm pretty sure it's this one. I might be getting confused with Gifts of Imperfection, but I know in one of those she didn't read the first one. And then when they did a reissue update, she read that. So of course you gotta get her to read.
Well, and there's just something, you know how I am. You do. The world may not know, but
y'all will know shortly.
You will know shortly because I am about to tell you. If I'm going to listen to a book, I want the author to read the book. I don't want to listen to someone else read somebody else's words.
Yes.
I want to hear the author read it.
I feel that.
I love it when an author reads their own book.
I will say that the caveat is unless it's an author and they early on hook up with a particular reader, and then that person is the voice of that character and that series.
Yeah, it's like a consistent voice across the board. Yeah, agree. I know. And I don't know, authors sometimes put inflection in places that not the person that's reading for them wouldn't. And so it kind of changes the way that you understand.
It can. Fun example of that. Have you seen the video of, it's this British actor who I'm not sure of his name, but he starts off reading the Shakespeare quote, "To be or not to be, that is the question." And then this parade of who's who of great British actors come out putting a different emphasis on each word, and it is hilarious.
I have seen that. It is and that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about, because it can change the way that you hear and understand what they're talking about. So anyways, I digress.
Yes. So I hope y'all have read this book already. If you've not, read it. And if you have read this book, read it again. There are a few books I've run across, both personally and professionally, that are I'm going to need to read this a couple times. And maybe even once every couple of years, because when you find yourself at a different state in life, it'll hit a little bit differently. Our Return of the Prodigal Son, the season of life you're in will really have a big factor to me on whether you see yourself as the younger or the elder, how much progress you need to get to the Father. This is the same way. She talks about so much and touches so many things that I think it just makes a difference. For instance, the first 2 times I read this, I wasn't a parent yet. And so hearing that now as a parent, it hits a little differently.
Well, and it can apply to so many areas of your life, right? So whether it's parenting or work relationships or personal relationships, friendships, that kind of thing. I mean, it can be applied in so many different areas of your life. I think it's just kind of like a good for the soul book, giving you permission to do some things. And always, me, I always love for somebody to tell me that it's okay. You can do X, Y, Z. So yeah, it's a great book. Tell us, give us a quick synopsis, or do you want me to read the back of the book?
Sure, go ahead and read the back of the book.
Okay, I'm going to read the back of the book. It says, every day we experience the uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure that define what it means to be vulnerable or to dare greatly. Based on 12 years of pioneering research, Dr. Brené Brown dispels the cultural myth that vulnerability is weakness and argues that it is, in truth, our most accurate measure of courage. In a world where never enough dominates and feeling afraid has become second nature, vulnerability is subversive, uncomfortable, even a little dangerous sometimes. Without question, putting ourselves out there invites a far greater risk of being criticized or feeling hurt. But Brené Brown explains that when we shut ourselves off from vulnerability, we distance ourselves from the experiences that bring purpose and meaning to our lives, and that nothing is as dangerous, uncomfortable, or hurtful as standing on the outside looking in and wondering what it would be like if we had the courage to step into the arena. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
And can I take us on a trip back to high school? I'm on the outside. I'm looking in. Love me some Stained.
Yeah.
Love me some Stained.
I'm trying to remember. I will come back to that because there's like a specific memory of somewhere that I was hearing that song, and I'm trying to grab it and I can't.
And if you're like me, you first heard the live version of that. Where Fred Durst literally ran Aaron Lewis. And so you're hearing this, and in the middle of this very sweet song, you hear Fred Durst goes, "I'm feeling those lighters." And it's
those lighters.
And it's forever memorialized in my brain.
So now, like when you go to places or to concerts or whatever, and you see everybody put their phones up instead of a lighter now.
Unless you go to like a Willie Nelson or like the Billy Strings concert, we know for whatever reason, a lot of people still have lighters in their pockets. There was not much tobacco.
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave that there.
We'll leave that there.
But no, this book is so good. It started, Dr. Brown, it started with, what does it mean to be a wholehearted person? A whole person, not just putting on a mask, not putting on armor that she talks about quite a bit in the book. And it started really with her research on shame.
Yeah.
And she did a lot about that. And as it came, learning about shame, learning about what it means to be a wholehearted person, the key to that wound up being vulnerability. And the daring greatly, she quotes this several times. It's a quote from Teddy Roosevelt, and the importance of being willing to put yourself out there, to get into the ring, to do something, and to not concern yourself with those who would stop you from doing that, who are not in there doing that.
Yeah. Well, and it reminded me, and I just talked about this morning, so it's interesting that we're circling back to this today, but for anybody that was watching us during the season of Lent or right after the season of Lent, this year for Lent, I chose something really vulnerable, and it was tough to do, but I chose not to wear makeup for 40 plus days during Lent. And that was a very vulnerable space. And I can remember thinking, like, because I didn't want to ruin my experience by putting it out in the world, hey, this is what I'm doing, right? And so just thinking about not telling people, and boy, the reactions by some people that I got was very interesting. But that goes back to what she's saying about, like, you can't worry about the people who aren't in the arena with you or who aren't going to join you.
Who aren't doing something to put themselves out there. And that is so, even though I know she wrote this 10 years ago and the world is different, but I feel like it's even more so. We live in a world where criticism just comes from all over. And it comes from people you will never interact with outside of social media or the internet. They have no stake in your life, and yet we can worry about putting ourselves out there because what somebody who's not really in our circle of who we think makes us belong keep us from doing something. And that's that's a crazy thing. I love her definition for vulnerability. She says, I define vulnerability as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. With that definition in mind, let's think about love. Waking up every day and loving someone who may or may not love us back, whose safety we can't ensure, who may stay in our lives or may leave without a moment's notice, who may be loyal to the day they die or betray us tomorrow. That's vulnerability. And I love that, because vulnerability, and in a sense, really, if you think about it, like almost everything in our lives that is really worth doing takes a certain amount of risk.
Yeah. Well, and I love that she brings love into it. I talk a lot about leading with love in all kinds of spaces and places, and so to pair vulnerability with love is about as deep as you can get. With that. And so, to invest in somebody without a guarantee of return, right? That's vulnerability.
She goes on further to say, vulnerability is the birthplace of love, belonging, joy, courage, empathy, and creativity. It is the source of hope, empathy, accountability, and authenticity. If we want greater clarity in our purpose or deeper or more meaningful spiritual lives, vulnerability is the path. I love that, because we talk about having faith, and faith is an important part. It says in Hebrews, faith is the evidence of things hoped for, the hope of things unseen. Rough paraphrase.
Sure.
There is risk. There is vulnerability in believing in God, because as much as we like to try to, and this made me think of Kay Bowler's work a little bit, we're not going to have all the answers.
Yeah.
We are putting ourselves out there when we say we believe this, when we live based on that, because while we think we know, like there's just also that there can be that uncertainty, there can be that little bit of doubt, and that's okay.
Yeah, sure. And she talks about, and this is in our next quote, but she talks about the difference between presenting herself as Dr. Brené Brown and then her kitchen table self.
Sure.
I also listened to the book this time, and I was actually in cleaning. I was like in cleaning mode. You know how one does. You get in cleaning mode, you put your headphones on, and I literally stopped in my tracks and was like, kitchen table self.
Sure.
Because we don't, vulnerability is, I don't want people to see my kitchen table self where I'm sitting at the table, relaxed, doing my thing in my own house, comfortable. That's not vulnerability, right?
Absolutely.
And so she talks about how, when she gets up and she's going to give a talk, right? And she's like, I don't want him to see my kitchen table self, but that's what I have to bring to the table today, because she was having some imposter syndrome, which a lot of people experience, especially in leadership areas, right? But like, who am I amongst all of these leaders who are doing excellent talks on all these important things, and I'm going to get up here and be just like them, just be another in the crowd kind of a thing. But who am I, right? And so I might forever use kitchen table self.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because there's a certain amount that we do. I think about it like, there's a difference when you. Joke used to use. So are we going to Walmart or are we going to Target? Because there's a reason there is a page called People of Walmart.
Sure.
Like, you roll out of bed, you go to Walmart. You go to Target, you go to Bridge Street here in Huntsville. You're probably going to put yourself a little bit more together.
Yeah, you're not going to wear your pajama pants.
And so a lot of this, thinking about how you present yourself. Yeah. It's a great conversation to think through.
Yeah. You want me to read this quote?
Sure.
It says, "We love seeing raw truth and openness in other people, but we're afraid to let them see it in us. We're afraid that our truth isn't enough, that what we have to offer isn't enough without the bells and whistles, without editing and impressing. I was afraid to walk on that stage and show the audience my kitchen table self. These people were too important, too successful, too famous. My kitchen table self is too messy, too imperfect, and too unpredictable. Here's the crux of the struggle. I want to experience your vulnerability, but I don't want to be vulnerable myself."
And man, I think that sums up the problem we run into as the church and as Christians.
Yeah.
Because, we say, we are here, we believe in a God and a Savior for sinners and for people who struggle. But now we got our lives together, and we're only going to show you that we have our lives together, and we do that by making sure that we don't cuss, that you don't see, the thing about the standard, maybe Southern Christian sins, you're not going to see us cuss, you're not going to see us with a beer in a place that we shouldn't have, you're not going to see us doing these things that supposedly would not make us, which may or may not have anything to do with that. But it's all about a persona that we think has to be there.
Well, and I thought it was so cool that she acknowledges that, we are humans and we want to see the people who are standing on stage. We think they're amazing, right? Like we hold them to this big high standard because we see all of the ways that they are doing great in life, success, power, whatever that thing is for you, right? Like we see them and we want to see them be vulnerable and share their secrets or share their stories, struggles, whatever that is. But somebody's looking at us, right? Yeah. And they're thinking the same thing, but we don't want to. We want to hold that, right? We want to clutch our pearls and not share.
Yeah. Sidebar: stories, secrets, and struggles. That's our next podcast.
Stories, secrets, and struggles. Stories, secrets, and struggles. I'm trying to remember it.
Yeah, like that. I feel like that's got some legs somewhere. The copyright.
Yeah, that's on us. You can't have that.
No, it's right. And the final quote I have for this, I think, just says, vulnerability sounds like truth and feels like courage. Truth and courage aren't always comfortable, but they're never weakness. Because that's right. We admire people who share their struggles, but then we think, my struggles obviously show that I'm a terrible person,
right?
Not that I'm a real person. It's like that the meme that says, you didn't reply to that email. Well, they're a busy person. Something happened. It's okay. We'll take care of it. I didn't reply to that email. Well, obviously that is a default error in my own character,
and I'm the worst.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is untrue and not even close to being accurate. But we are so hard on ourselves.
We are.
So hard on ourselves. So then we move on to empathy, which I'm going to be honest, I feel really unqualified to talk about empathy because I do not feel like I'm an empathetic person. It's something that I have, doesn't match the person that I should be, right? But I have a really hard time with empathy. It's just not something, I have to be really conscious of how I show empathy and compassion towards people.
Well, and that thing's, and one of the things I did, and I didn't get her wholehearted list. She has 10 things for making a wholehearted person. And she says, you know what, I've only got 2 of those. When she started this work, like I only have 2. We're going to talk about a lot of different things, and you'll hear a lot of different things in this book and some of her other stuff. You're not going to have all those things. You're not going to have them all at the same time. So it's okay when you don't.
Yeah.
I said, that was just empathy.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate you.
No, but I love that she does talk about empathy. And I think that's important because, even more so now, because there's been a movement over the last couple years, and the phrase toxic empathy has started getting thrown around by people and by Christians who say, empathy is actually a sin. We don't need to identify with people. We don't need to understand their struggles. And to me, that's incredibly dangerous.
That feels very the antithesis of who Jesus is, right?
Well, and especially because so often we will reserve empathy for ourselves and then deny it for others when that's the case. Because we get to define who is worthy of empathy and who isn't, which defeats the whole purpose of empathy.
Sure. Yeah. Empathy is, again, it's a hard thing for me to hold. I have to be very intentional. And like you're saying, it can be quite dangerous if you don't hold empathy sort of at the forefront, especially if you're doing life with people.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
because we're all people.
We're all people. We all have our struggles, and so different people test us in different ways. What she says about it is empathy is a strange and powerful thing. There is no script. There is no right way or wrong way to do it. It is simply listening, holding space, withholding judgment, emotionally connecting, and communicating that incredibly healing message of you're not alone.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean it's necessarily excusing bad behavior. It doesn't mean it's giving license to things. But it is taking the time to hear someone tell their story and give them space to say, I'm here with you as we're walking through this. Because you can have empathy for someone and still disagree with them.
Sure, of course.
But I love that. I think that's, again, listening and holding space. I think maybe that's one of the reasons why there's this whole movement against empathy. Life is so much easier when there's people we don't have to listen to.
Oh, of course, especially if we disagree with them.
Yes.
Especially then, for sure. Yeah, I love what she says about empathy. I also love that literally empathy is holding space for someone who's not empathetic.
Yeah.
It's like inception.
Yeah,
is that the right word? Anyways, yeah.
But, and fun, I appreciate you using that because in a way you are planting that, because when we hold space for someone, and maybe that's not something used to,
It's a wicked hold space. Sorry.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I haven't seen Wicked yet, so.
We'll be right back. We're going to pause the whole podcast so that you can go watch Wicked, and then we'll come back and you will understand more. Oh, man. Okay,
and now we're back. Okay, so why is she green? No, I'm kidding.
Again, Wicked. I can't. Oh, I'm like so much pain. Speaking of you not seeing Wicked, we can move on to guilt and shame.
Guilt and shame. She has the best simple definitions for guilt and shame, and this is something. This might have been to me one of the most helpful things that she's had to differentiate between the two, because, there are guilt cultures, there are shame cultures, and the way you use these are very, very different. But the way she defines it is kind of the way I like to use it now going forward. Guilt is, I did something bad. Shame is, I am bad.
Yeah.
Goes back to the email thing, whether, did I not just send this and so I did a bad thing, or, I didn't send this, I'm a horrible person.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the next quote that you have. It says, when we apologize for something we've done, make amends, or change a behavior that doesn't align with our values, guilt, not shame, is most often the driving force. We feel guilty when we hold up something we've done or failed to do against our values and find they don't match up. It's an uncomfortable feeling, but one that's helpful. The psychological discomfort, something similar to cognitive dissonance, is what motivates meaningful change. Guilt is just as powerful as shame, but its influence is positive, while shame's is destructive. In fact, in my research, I found that some shame corrodes the very part of us that believes we can change and do better.
So guilt, I did something bad, that doesn't align with my values. I need to change that behavior.
Yep.
Shame, gosh, I've done this bad thing. I am just terrible. I guess I'm just a worthless person.
I'm the worst. Yeah.
What motivation is there to change? What motivation is there to do anything to rectify said bad behavior?
Yeah.
You just accept it as part of who you are.
Right, which is a lie. Right. Most of the time, what we believe about ourselves says a lot.
Yeah.
Right. And, the shame. And as a person who deals with shame a lot, everybody's got a history, everybody's got a past.
Sure.
I'm certainly one of those people, and I have my own struggles with shame.
Sure.
Right. But somehow, some way, somewhere in there, you figure out a path to sort of back out of that shame.
Yeah.
And I wonder if shame turning into guilt is sort of that pathway to healing.
I think it can be. I'm going to jump just a little bit. If we can share our story with someone who responds with empathy and understanding, shame can't survive. I think that's so true. You know, so often when we work through behaviors, whether it's a trusted friend, whether it's a therapist, maybe it's a pastor, it could be any number of people. But when we share our story with someone who hears us and who can respond with compassion, depending on, again, they're not necessarily giving you license to continue, but they hear you and they hear your struggle. It can help put you on a path to changing your behavior.
Yeah. I wonder if this has anything to do with like the Me Too movement, to like hear stories of, me too.
Yeah.
I share my story, you share your story. It's a me too.
You were not a bad person because this happened to you.
Correct.
And you don't have to live with that secret of the thing that was done to you. No, I 100%.
Yeah.
I think that is why that is
Yeah.
a thing that came up.
Yeah. She says shame resilience is the ability to say, this hurts, this is disappointing, maybe even devastating. But success and recognition and approval are not the values that drive me. My value is courage, and I was just courageous. You can move on, shame.
Yep. That's right. That's right. When you get caught in the shame cycle, or what does she call it? Shame storm, shame tornado.
Yeah.
She had a term like that. No, recognize what's really going on, especially when you have just put yourself out there.
Yeah.
That's a great and wonderful thing. And don't let shame, whether it's from someone else or it's in your own head, keep that away from you.
Yeah.
We live in a world where most people still subscribe to the belief that shame is a good tool for keeping people in line. Not only is this wrong, but it is dangerous. Shame is highly correlated with addiction, violence, aggression, depression, eating disorders, and bullying. That one hit home for me as a former and still dealing with being overweight. Still heavy at this point in time in my life, but was much, much more. And, when you get shamed for that, my default thing was, I turned to the same thing that got me in that place in the first go round.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Shame eating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Been there for sure. Yeah. And it's hard, right? It's hard to find your way, especially if you're not surrounded by a group of people who are supportive, who love you, who want to help you, who want to be, again, empathetic. Somebody that just sits and listens and hears you.
Yeah.
Right.
And even to me, what I think can be just so dangerous in that is there are people who love you, who do want to support you, but they think I got to shame you to make you change.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. And we're guilty of that in the church, right?
Sure.
There's so many times that and well-meaning,
Yes.
I think that's the hardest part is people are so well-meaning. But it's just, it doesn't show compassion.
No.
It doesn't show love. It's hurtful and it's painful and it's like she says, it's dangerous.
And as we know, everyone needs compassion.
Everyone needs forgiveness.
Sorry.
I'm not a great singer. I'm so ashamed that I just did that.
You should not be ashamed.
Here's an example.
Just own it because it's fun. It doesn't have to be on key when it's
is.
fun.
Well, it's not on key, that's for sure.
I had a pastor one time, and I hadn't really thought about this till just now, but he loved gospel music, and he loved to sing every now and again. But he said he was going to start a band called the Can't Carry a Tune in a Bucket Band. So I wonder if that's kind of where my stuff comes from, because I had this model of someone who, by his own rights, was not a great singer. He'd do it anyway.
Yeah, I want to be in that band. I always say, like, God knew that I would be far too powerful if I could sing. Should I say that out loud? Probably not.
I think you could say that out. I think that's okay to own that.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
One of the most fun things that she ends up talking about quite a bit in this book is we experience shame differently.
Yep.
And I didn't put the exact quote in here, but I think we can go through the story that sparked. The men and women experience shame differently. And she spent the first part of her career in shame study focusing on women and giving talks about shame in women. You brought it up, so I'll let you share the story.
Yeah.
I'll jump in what I remember.
Yeah, so she was giving a talk, and there was a gentleman there with his wife and daughter, or maybe two daughters.
Yeah, I think it was daughters.
But multiple daughters. And she gave her shame talk, and of course, at the end, they got up, they wanted to go get their picture made with her, and book signed and all the things, and, told her how much they appreciated the way that she gave voice to this conversation. And they walk away, and the husband or the dad of the daughters ask her if she has a minute to talk, and she's like, oh yeah, sure. And he tells her,
and I'll just interject, while the wife and daughters are trying to get him away from her as much as they can.
Yes. And he is relentless and finds a way to get to her and have a conversation. And he basically just says, hey, I know that my wife and my daughters were here and they loved your talk, but I want to tell you that what you just said is not the same for men.
And he asked, have you done any research on men and shame? And she said, well, no, I really haven't. And he said, and he's like, I just kind of think, and he said something like, because people don't want to know.
Yeah.
The women in my life don't want to know. And one of the things that she said in that was, I was not prepared to hear over and over again from men how the women, the mothers, sisters, girlfriends, wives in their lives are constantly criticizing them for not being open and vulnerable and intimate, all the while they are standing in front of that cramped wizard closet where their men are huddled inside, adjusting the curtain and making sure no one sees in, no one gets out. There was this moment where I was driving home from the interview with a small group of men and thought, and I'm going to say this because this is her quote, holy shit, I am the patriarchy.
Yeah, because there was no acknowledgement. There was no acknowledgement of, at that time, right, of how we treat men in their shame.
Yeah.
And yes, we experience those things differently, right? Like women are encouraged to put it out there. Yeah. We encourage men to put it out there, but we don't want to see it because what is the image of a man that we want? You're
supposed to be the big tough man. You're supposed to be the provider. You're supposed to be the shoulder that someone can cry on, and that's it. You don't want to hear about the struggles. You don't want to hear about insecurities. That's the thing. Again, there's on the one hand, there's the narrative that men, boys don't cry. Men should not cry. But no, it's okay if you cry. But there's still a list of, there are these very select things where you can cry.
That you're allowed to cry about.
But otherwise, no. We want you to be tough. Yeah. We want you to be stoic.
Yeah. And she says here, it says, we could read you this whole book, by the way.
We really could. I had to just stop reading stuff at some point.
She says, here's the painful pattern that emerged from our research with men. We ask them to be vulnerable. We beg them to let us in. And we plead with them to tell us when they're afraid. But the truth is that most women can't stomach it. In those moments when real vulnerability happens in men, most of us recoil with fear, and that fear manifests as everything from disappointment to disgust. And men are very smart. They know the risks, and they see that the look in our eyes when we're thinking, come on, pull it together, man up. As Joe Reynolds says, one of my mentors and the dean at our church once told me during a conversation about men, shame and vulnerability, men know what women really want. They want us to pretend to be vulnerable. We get really good at pretending.
Yeah.
I apologize on behalf of all women everywhere for asking men to be vulnerable when we don't really want it.
Yeah. And that's just the hard thing is we get these things just get hardwired into us. And then how do you start to figure your way out? And so, this book, what we're trying to do here, what we try to do in other ways here, you got to just talk about these things. You got to bring it out into the open. It's okay to have fears and insecurities, and it's okay to share them. Now, one of the things she talks about, and this is earlier in the book, and I forget if I have anything about it. This is not like just trauma dumping on someone.
Right.
It needs to be a safe space. It needs to be someone you trust. This is not something that you put on blast on social media, because that's a whole different kind of response and attention you're looking for. But I think that the thing is especially in the context of relationships, how do we learn to be open and honest with each other?
Yeah.
And really ask for what we're wanting.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's places for that trauma dumping,
Yes.
right? Not everybody is going to be an expert with your trauma.
No.
In fact, most people
Most people
aren't.
are not. And it's she says something along the lines of, some people think, well, as soon as I meet someone, I'm just going to throw this all out there and see if they stick around. That's not brave. That's another defense mechanism to keep yourself from a deeper relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I appreciate your apology on behalf of all women towards men. However, we haven't made that particularly easy on y'all either.
Yeah.
As she talks about, in a U.S. study on conformity to feminine norms, researchers recently listed the more important attributes associated with being feminine as being nice, pursuing a thin body ideal, showing modesty but not calling attention to one's talents or abilities, being domestic, caring for children, investing in romantic relationships, keeping sexual intimacy contained within one committed relationship, using our resources to invest in our appearance. So y'all need to be pretty, but not too pretty. We want y'all to be sexy, but not like uber sexy.
Yeah.
You need to have like... Y'all are, I'm exhausted here.
All of this is impossible.
We have a running gag that I have with my wife and that I've brought into the office here as well, where I have a list of 5,862 things why I'm glad I'm a guy.
Yeah, I know.
And the list just constantly goes up.
It does. It depends on the day how many of those things are on your list.
Yeah.
For that day. Yeah, but here's the truth is, we're impossible. All of us together, we hold everyone to an impossible standard.
Yeah.
And why do we do that? Probably because of something that's in here, right? In our own hearts that we, are either shameful about or embarrassed or whatever the thing is, right? And we hold each other to this impossible standard. And what would it be like, Henry, if we quit? Like, can we just quit with the whole standard thing?
If we stopped letting our own insecurities dictate the standard that us and other people are being held to.
Yes.
Just let people be people.
Yes. It's exhausting.
It would be. I really, because I feel like this is something that comes up in the church a ton. The thing about the shame trigger for women and motherhood. And just what a big thing are that. Because in the church, we are bad about this. Women are constantly asked, why haven't they married yet? Or if they're married, why haven't they had children? Or even if women who are married and have one child, well, why aren't you having a second one? Did you have your kids too far apart? Did you have them too close? What were you thinking? Why? That's so unfair to the kids. If you're working outside the home, what about your children? If you're not working, what example are you setting for your daughters?
Yeah.
We've created these scenarios where you literally cannot win.
Yeah. And being in the South, I will say, I think makes it that much harder. So I go to counseling, and we talk a lot about unwritten rules or unspoken rules that we have all made up.
Yeah.
And I love being challenged on those rules, because I will say, something, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I'll say, well, I can't do that because, and her question is always, why? And I'll say, well, because...
That's the rules.
That's the rule. And she's like, who told you that was a rule? Who told you that was a rule? And a lot of times, nobody told us it was a rule, but it was just we learned it in the ways that we acted, our parents acted, our family member, whoever was around us, We make up these rules all the time, especially in the South.
We do.
And it does make it quite difficult.
Yeah, and it's funny. She had this great section, and I didn't put it in there. We wound up, I think, talking about it yesterday or the day before. How we and especially as parents, we can teach these unwritten rules to our kids by the way we encourage behavior and then don't reinforce it well. So, for instance, she shares a story about when her daughter was late for school and was going to have her first tardy, and she freaked out. And she said, it's okay. Life happens. It's all right. We're even going to throw you a tardy party. That was like Tuesday. Well, fast forward to Sunday, and they are going to be 15 minutes late for church.
Yep.
No, y'all get to church on time. We love it when you're there on time because we get to visit with you.
That's
before.
fine.
But you know what? If you're late to church, just come. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right.
To my wife's favorite phrase, it's really not that deep.
No.
Says the person who, of the two of us, I think is the most chronically in a hurry to get places on time. And by get places on time, I mean 10 minutes early.
I'm chronically late.
But she's freaking out, and her daughter says, "Well, why are you freaking out? We need to. I don't want to do this. I want to. It's okay. Everybody's late sometime. Hey, when we get back, we can have a tardy party."
Yeah, stopped her in her tracks.
And how often do we voice a behavior?
Yes.
And then reinforce it in a different way? And it's those reinforcements in the different ways that can stick with, I think, us and become those unwritten rules.
Yeah. Well, because since we're talking about children too, like a lot of times in parenting, we want what's best for our kids, right? And in our minds, what's best for our kids is to be on time to places.
Yeah.
And so we say, okay, let's be on time. But we also want our kids to know that they're loved and cared for, right? And it's okay to make mistakes. So when they're tardy, we'd say, it's okay, we'll have a tardy party. But when we do it, well, that's the expectation that we've set, right? And so then again, back to the standards. We give our kids certain standards that we won't even give ourselves. Well, they're watching us.
Yeah. And this conversation is just for that. Again, I do think it's an important thing to be on time when that is in your control. At the same time, like it can become problematic. Like, do you ever set a target time for when you want to leave that's completely arbitrary?
Yes.
And then don't tell your spouse?
I knew this is where you were going with this. Yes. I've seen lots of like reels lately. Maybe it's the algorithm is targeting me.
It might be.
But have you seen the videos where it's like the wife is mad at her husband, but she can't tell him why because he was late for something she didn't tell him about? Yeah. Like they planned the whole trip, but she didn't tell anybody what her plans were because they were all up here in her brain. And she can't really be mad at them or she can't verbalize that she's mad at them because she didn't tell them the plans because she kept them in her head.
And so, like, why do we do this to ourselves?
I don't know. I wish I had an answer. We'd make it quit.
And to me, I'm going to skip down a couple things. I think it gets into a little bit of our scarcity mindset, which is one of our problems in our culture. And yes, all of us only have a finite amount of time. That is a fact, and we don't know how much time we have, so we need to it's admirable to be a good steward of what we have been given. At the same time, she said, for me and for many of us, our first waking thought of the day is I didn't get enough sleep. The next one is I don't have enough time. Whether true or not, the thought of not enough occurs to us automatically before we even think to question or examine it. We spend most of the hours and the days of our lives hearing, explaining, complaining, or worrying about what we don't have enough of. Before we even sit up in bed, before our feet even touch the floor, we are already inadequate, already behind, already losing, already lacking something. And by the time we go to bed at night, our minds are racing with the litany of what we didn't get or what didn't get done that day. We go to sleep burdened by those thoughts and wake up to the reverie of lack. This internal condition of scarcity, this mindset of scarcity, lives at the very heart of our jealousies, our greeds, our prejudice, and our arguments with life. Ooh. So thinking like practically, so what are some of the things that we can do to start to change that mindset first thing in the morning? What are the habits that we can build in to negate some of that negative self-talk?
Well, and I'm just sitting here thinking about myself because this literally describes me on but not all the time.
Yeah.
It describes me when I'm busy.
Yeah.
When I have a lot to get done, when a deadline is approaching or an event is like right now in my world, school's about to start.
Yep.
Right. So what all can I get done before school starts?
Yeah.
Does that matter? No. But in my brain and in my life, I have created this thing that's fixing to happen, and I have to get all these things done. And guess what? It's not going to happen. But for me, the fuller my calendar gets, the less I get done. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes
sense.
sense.
The fuller my calendar gets, the less I get done, because I wake up and think, oh my gosh, what do I have to get done today? How many places do I have to get? What are the tasks I need to get done at work? What are the tasks I need to get done at home? What are the tasks that I need to get done for my kid? Am I loving my husband well? Are we spending enough time together? Did we get our date night in this week?
Yeah.
Just like, I will spiral.
Yeah.
And that's what this is talking about, really and truly.
One of the helpful things for me has been a gratitude journal that I've done for years now. Because you do that in the morning, in the evening. Sometimes, because I'm the kind of person who will fall asleep reading. Sometimes that means I do last night's at the first thing in the morning, and then I do today's morning one as well. But trying to give yourself something else to focus on. Oh, hey, this is what I have to be thankful for. Hey, if I accomplish these things today, this will be a good day. Anything else can be gravy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I also love a list. So I'm in that same vein, like, what is my priority? What are the two most important, maybe even just one most important thing I need to get done today? For me today, it's a podcast.
It's a podcast.
Because we're recording podcasts today, right? And that's something that needs to get done. It's at the top of my list. Everything else after that, I hope it gets done. Yeah. And maybe it'll get done in the right order. Yeah. Maybe it won't.
So just because I know a bit of you and I know your schedule. So today, if you record this podcast, check. If you take your daughter to theater camp, check.
Yep.
You get some kind of exercise in.
Check. Yep.
That's an awesome day.
And guess what? I've done 2 of those.
You've already done 2 of those, and it is not yet 10:30 in the morning.
Yes, I know. And so that's literally what I have to do. I have more things on my calendar, right? I have more things on my to-do list. But those are the things I have to do today. And it's like eating an elephant one little bite at a time. You know what I mean? Like, if I can get the priorities done, everything after that, I'm like, okay, if I get it done today, great. But if I have to put it at my priority list for Tuesday, fine.
That's okay too.
If I have to put it on Wednesday, fine.
Yeah.
So
that's the Kelly's work. She works for Western Governors University, and the way it does, like she has a list of tasks that she has to do every day. And I don't know if she's done this. I don't know if it's her system, but it like ranks it by importance. And so like there are things that she has to get done, and then there are things like, okay, well, I'm at the end of the day. Maybe I've even worked a little over, but I'm not going to get all this done.
Next
Move
day.
it to tomorrow.
Yep. Literally click, move.
Yep.
Yeah. Same.
What a great thing to be able to do that.
Yeah, I know. But that's like what you were talking about. Like, what kind of tools, what kind of tangible things can we do to help in this scarcity mindset, which in this sense is we have scarcity of time.
Yeah.
Right. We don't have scarcity of time. We have the same 24 hours every single day. It's just how we use those 24 hours.
How we use it, and letting ourselves not get caught up in like these mindsets that don't actually help us get anything done.
Yeah.
Another thing that I think helps us with that kind of thing, and it's kind of our last little section, is on connection. Because connection is why we are here. It is what gives us purpose and meaning to our lives. The power that connection holds in our lives was confirmed when the main concern about connection emerged as the fear of disconnection. The fear of something we have done or failed to do, something about who we are or where we come from, has made us unlovable and unworthy of connection. And I think one of the things that helps us in this scarcity thing is when you have connection to people who help you keep life in perspective. Because as you said earlier, like, we are our own worst critics. We are harder, so much more on ourselves.
Yeah.
So hit the wall. Than anyone else is.
Yeah.
And so having someone, hey, slow down there, my friend. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
There's a comedian called Tom Papa, and he's got a special and a whole bit talking about you're doing great. You're doing great. You're not an Olympic athlete. You're Chad from sales. You're not running a marathon. You wear khakis. You have a belly. Eat the bread.
Yeah.
Like that whole kind of and I love that.
And again, it's permission.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes we need a person to give us permission. Even though we can do that for ourselves, we can still have a person that's around us that can say, hey, my friend, you are Chad. And you rock those khakis.
Yes.
And if you want to go to Olive Garden and eat the endless pasta bowl, go for it.
Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to eat the bread.
I'm going to eat the bread.
I love good bread.
Same. Yes, I love bread too. All things. I like all carbs probably.
Yes.
No carb left behind.
There you go. Nice. Nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of the biggest surprises in this research was learning that fitting in and belonging are not the same thing. In fact, fitting in is one of the greatest barriers to belonging. Fitting in is about assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be in order to be accepted. Belonging, on the other hand, doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. When you find those people you can be vulnerable with, where you don't have to put on a front, where you don't have to put on a facade, you can just be. I don't know that we've used it in this podcast, but it is a regular feature here, dare I say. You got to find your people.
Got to find your people. Leave us a comment. Tell me if you know that song, because if you don't, you do need to.
If you don't, Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors.
Drew Holcomb and the Neighbors. They're the best. We love them.
They are. They're good folks.
But you got to find your people. Life is so much better with your people.
Finding where you belong is such a critical thing. And if you're listening to us there and you don't think you belong, you do. There is somewhere you do belong.
Yeah.
You just may be caught up in a shame mindset that you're not seeing that.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard to get out of that, right? But let us just say that if you do feel that way and you are in that shame mindset, number one, read this book. But also reach out to people.
Yes.
Have the courage. She talks about courage a lot, right? That's part of this being vulnerable. Have the courage to find a person, a safe person.
Yep.
Whether that's in your own network now, whether you need to find somebody new, whether you need to, I don't know, go where people are.
Yeah.
That's probably a good place to find people.
I know.
I knew that was coming, and I walked right into that.
Streets and dancing. And here's the thing: if you were with us at this point in time of this ungodly long podcast,
but it was such a good book.
You are our people.
You're our people. Come find us.
Reach out to us.
Yep.
You can find us in all the places.
And and if we're not your people, we're real good at pointing you to your people. And that's a great thing too. And that's part of this connection that she's talking about, is just finding people, whether it's that person or the person that they lead you to.
Yeah.
But we got to be connected. We got to find our people. We got to love people. Be led by God in those relationships, and be vulnerable.
Yeah. Not let shame dictate how and who we are, but just be who you are, knowing that we are created by God, that God has made us, that God called us wonderful, and that we are here to do the good work He has for us.
Yeah.
And that can be enough.
That can be enough. Yeah, absolutely. All right. This was a good one. We're sorry it was so long.
Yeah, and because we
literally could read this whole book.
We skipped things in here. We had a whole nother set of stuff picked out.
Yes. Yes.
This has been fun. We hope y'all have enjoyed it, because we've had a blast.
We have. This has been a good series for the summer for sure. And we've got some fun surprises coming up.
Yep. New things are in the works. But before we leave the book study, are there things that y'all are reading that y'all would enjoy us discussing in this format, you might even want to come on here and discuss it with us. We would love that.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, if you want to do that, reach out to us. If you have something you want to hear, see, whatever, we're excited. We've had such a good response to this podcast. We weren't sure when we started what it was going to turn into, but
we didn't know it. Be honest, because we're folks like
regular people.
And so we're grateful that y'all have come along here with us. That you've found us in various places. Like where, Brooke?
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can even watch us on YouTube. If you want to see us being silly and goofy, please come watch us over on YouTube. You can find us on the Arab UMC YouTube page. But yeah.
Please, feel free to, as I say, drop us a comment, drop us an email. You can reach out, through our church Facebook page. We would love to hear from you. We would love to interact with you. And if you're really enjoying this, share this with someone who you think might enjoy.
Yeah. And we will see you soon.
Very soon with some fun stuff, y'all.
All right.
Bye.